Welcome back. All right, 9 games tonight in the NHL. For a little bit there, all 9 games were on at the same time. So, did my best, as usual. And thankfully, there were a couple of games that I didn't have to pay as much attention to because it was pretty obvious who was going to win them. The really close games seem to be saved for later. So, we'll start things off talking about the Anaheim Ducks and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Anaheim played 2 decent periods. They did not play 3. So it's Dostal versus Vasilevsky in this one. The early jump is for Tampa Bay. Bolts go to the power play. Colton has a shot that's saved. That's cleared. Afterwards, the power play's killed off 1 shot. The Ducks then go to the power play. Bolts didn't let them really set that one up. That gets killed off. Ducks go back to the power play. Silverberg's denied, and it's killed off. And then Kucherov has a shot that's held. The shots on net are 4 apiece at 8.5 minutes. Strome can't bury one from the slot. The Ducks are building momentum, but Vasilevsky's saving at this point. Perbix to Nemesnikov near miss there. The Bolts press with 5 minutes left. Tampa Bay gets a power play. There's a net feed to Stamkos, near miss there, and that power play is killed off. So after 1 period, it is scoreless. Second period, Stamkos fires one wide early. Stamkos to Killorn, near miss. Bolts go to the power play. Hedman has a shot that's held. Colton had one that was caught and held as well. Dostal, strong glove hand for him to this point in the game. Shots are 7-0 Tampa at 6 minutes. Dostal's doing the most he can. Chernak has a net feed that's picked off, and then at 7:15, Tampa gets on the board. It's Nick Paul from Perbix. Bolts press, draws them a power play. They score on it. It is Colton from Sergachev and Killorn at 9:48, and then a little over a minute later at 10:51, it's Cirelli from Perbix and Killorn. Bolts press for some more. Eventually, they get it at 13:10. It's Bogosian with his first of the season from Maroon and Colton. So with 4 goals in, 5 minutes and 55 seconds, by my count, that makes it 4-0 after 2. Third period, early Bolts power play, and they score on it. It's Braden Point from Kucherov and Hagel at 1:06. We had a fight between Jones and Sergachev, and then at 2:23, Perry scores from Nemesnikov and Perbix. So Perbix having a big game. Carrick then had a fight with Maroon. Held his own against Maroon. Maroon's a big guy. And then Anaheim breaks up the shutout. It's Strome from Fowler and Zegras at 6:28. The Ducks then get a power play. That's killed off. Perry then has a shot in the last minute that's held. I thought that was noteworthy because I'm watching in the last minute. Final score of this one, 6-1. So the no mercy magnet used for this one. 36-17-3 record now for Tampa Bay. Anaheim 17-34-7 with the loss. Shots in this one, 12-9 Anaheim in the first, 22-1 for Tampa Bay in the second, and then 13-12 Tampa Bay in the third. So like I said, Anaheim had 2 good periods. Final shots, 44-25 for Tampa Bay. Power plays, Anaheim 0 for 4, Tampa Bay 2 for 5. The hits, 31-25 for Anaheim. Dostal saves 38 out of 44, and Vasilevsky saves 24 out of 25. So impressive game for Tampa Bay against an Anaheim team that clearly tonight just didn't have it in the second period. They were fine in the first. They were fine in the third. I guess the long change can be really, really difficult. So, next up, some teams do struggle with the long change. Next up, we got Detroit and the Washington Capitals. It's Husso versus Kemper. Washington wearing their stadium jerseys. Really wish they'd won this because I've got the stadium. I haven't had a reason to wear it in a video yet. So, there's that. Caps with the lone shot on net at 3 minutes in. Then there's a press by Washington 4.5 minutes into this. Near miss for Bergeron on a net drive, and then Haig scores his first of the season from Bertuzzi and Mata at 10:16. Tips that one in front. That's the 6th shot on net for Detroit, and there were only 2 for Washington to this point. Wings nearly add another. The Caps get a power play. Larkin with a 5-minute. It was ugly. What was interesting was they were going to commercial. Like, well, we'll see. They're going to look at this. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that looks like a 5. So he was out of the game. So Detroit did this mostly without Larkin in the lineup. There's a shorthanded chance for Kopp. He nearly scores. Wilson has a shot that's blocked and cleared. And then on a shorthanded breakaway, Suter buries it at 14:22. Now, the Caps do get that back. It's Wilson on the power play from Gustafsson and Backstrom at 15:57. It was a partial screen and it was tipped in, and the Wings finished the kill, meaning that in that 5-minute power play, both teams scored a goal. So your score after 1 period of play is 2-1 for the Detroit Red Wings. Second period, Caps get another power play. Wings don't allow a setup. That's killed off. You can really tell they miss Ovechkin on that power play, even though they get that power play goal in the 5-minute. It's so different without him. So shots are 4 apiece at 5 minutes. Wings press at the half. We get a power play for Detroit. That was killed off. Bertuzzi has a shot that's saved, and the Wings then draw a power play. That's killed off as well. And we're going to the third period with the same score we had at the end of the first, 2-1 Detroit. In the third period, early jump for the Wings. Bertuzzi has a net feed. That won't go. Vrana has a chance that's saved. Yes, he returned to the Detroit lineup tonight against his former teammates. Shots are 4-1 for the Caps at 3.5 minutes. That was after Eller was denied on a rush. Gustafsson with a net feed. That's cleared out. Strome fires one wide. The Caps press. And then Suter with his second goal of the game at 6:24 makes it 3-1. So Pius Suter getting some goals recently. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Orlov has a shot that's blocked. The Caps press. The Caps would press again with 8.5 minutes left. Eller has a net feed that's picked off. Modifiers one wide on a 3-on-2. And then Backstrom was denied on a 2-on-1. With 2:51 left, goalie pull by the Caps. This was important. So they hold on and they win this one, the Detroit Red Wings do. This is their first win in regulation in Washington since October 29th of 2014. It's been over 8 years. So Detroit with a big win, they go to 27-21-8 with the 3-1 victory. The Capitals 28-25-6. Again, I really don't think Washington is making the playoffs now. 3 stars in this one: Suter, Husso, and Wilson. Shots in this one: 8-6 Detroit in the first, 13-6 Detroit in the second, 15-4 Washington in the third. Final shots 27-25 for the Caps. Power plays: Detroit over 2, Washington 1 for 3. Hits 26-23 for Washington. Husso saves 26 out of 27. Kemper saves 22 out of 25. So another really good game for Husso. And guess what? Detroit is really close to a playoff spot right now, and they have games in hand on the teams they're chasing. All right, next up, Montreal and New Jersey. Who saw this coming? I did not. I will not raise my hand. Didn't see this coming at all. Montembeault chose to just steal this today. So he's against Vanacek. They were wearing the jerseys today, so I thought that was noteworthy. Anderson's denied on a rush. The Devils press at 3 minutes, but at 3:54, on a good pass and a one-timer, Barron gets his third of the season. Suzuki and Harvey Pinard on the board with assists. Harvey Pinard's been fantastic. I'm not sure what the ceiling is for Harvey Pinard, but he's been interesting, and it gave me an idea the next time I do a 32-team video. I need to do a video on guys that are really hardworking that just don't get points, but I assure you they're playing well. Devils then look to answer. Shots are 4 apiece at 6 minutes. Both teams blocking. Good defense at this stage. Palat's denied as the Devils press, and then Jesper Bratt ties the game from Hughes at 13:48. The Devils press for the lead. Heischer has a blast that's held. It's 1-1 after 1. Second period, early jump for the Habs. Net feed to Hughes then, a near miss there. Habs had a 3-on-2. That was saved. And then Kovacevic, great pass, fired home, and Ullinen with the assist on that. Matheson with the secondary assist at 2:29. Woods then denied on a break. And then on a rush, Suzuki gets one. He scores from Hoffman and Schoenemann at 3:42. Nice to see Schoenemann on the scoreboard tonight. Anderson then prevents a Sharon Govich chance. The Devils press at 6.5 minutes. We get a power play for New Jersey. That's killed off. The Habs, they get an opportunity on the power play. That's killed off as well. Shots are 9-4 for the Devils with 5 minutes left. Sharon Govich has a rush chance. That's saved. Devils press with 2.5 minutes left. But after the second period, it's 3-1 Montreal. The Habs 10-1-2 when they lead after 2 periods. They're pretty good with the lead. So third period, Habs, early power play. It then becomes 4-on-4 for 1 minute and 7 seconds. Hamilton fires one wide during the power play that they got after that. That's cleared out. Big saves by Montembeault during that brief power play for the New Jersey Devils. It's killed off. And then at 5:13, Pitlick scores from Dodonov and Dvorak. We then get a power play for the Devils, and they score on it. At 11:58, it is Mercer from Wood and Hughes. Dodonov then had a shot that was blocked. New Jersey would pull the goaltender. That allows Matheson to hit the empty net. Dvorak with the assist at 16:13. Montreal wins 5-2 in New Jersey. They go to 24-29-4. It's really my fault. I said New Jersey was getting better at home. New Jersey's 37-15-5. My bad. With the loss. So for New Jersey, this is one that you wanted to get 2 points in. Again, I've mentioned this before. Strength of schedule only matters if the teams that are supposed to win those games actually win them. 3 stars in this one. It should have been Montembeault, Suzuki, and Barron. The shots in this one, 11-8 New Jersey in the first, 14-4 New Jersey in the second, and then 15-6 New Jersey in the third. Final shots, 40-18 for the Devils. Power plays, Montreal 0 for 2, New Jersey 1 for 3. The hit, 16-15 New Jersey. Montembeault, 38 saves on 40 shots. Vanacek, 13 saves on 17 shots. So rougher night for him. And again, for Montreal, they don't want to tank. Players don't tank. All right, next up. The St. Louis Blues and the Carolina Hurricanes. So this was Binnington versus Anderson. Again, St. Louis, it's really noticeable that this team is not what they were as recently as a couple weeks ago. So Svechnikov scores from Jarvis at 126. He just wires it on a rush. And it's the first shot, and it's not fair for that to be the first shot of the game. Like, I would want a do-over if I was Binnington on that one. Blues look to respond. Svechnikov then has a rush chance that deflects high. The Canes press at 5 minutes. Blues press, but they're kept to the outside. PHI has a shot deflect wide. The shots are 8-4 for the Canes. We're only 8 minutes into the game. And that's after Svechnikov scores at 7:57 from Jarvis and Burns. That's what happens when I put the notes in the wrong order. Anyways, so on their 8th shot, they get that second goal. So that doesn't look great for a save percentage, but trust me, they're both filthy goals for Svechnikov. He's back on the scoring binge. And he buried the rebound there. Blues press at the half. Anderson saves with 3:11 left. The Blues get a power play. That's killed off. It's 2-0 Carolina after 1. Second period, Canes press at a minute and a half. Highmore has a chance that's held. And at 3:59, St. Louis does get on the board. It's Falk from Levo, but the Canes look to answer. The shots are 6-5 for Carolina, 8 minutes into the period. Aho's denied as the Canes press. He's not denied later in the period, though. He scores at 16:36 from Fast and Svechnikov. He buries that one in close. Again, no chance for Binnington on that one. Rosen then has a screenshot that's held. The Blues press with a minute and a half left. They got opportunities. Freddie Anderson making the saves. Third period, early power play for the Blues. Canes don't let them set up. They kill that off. There were 4 shots for St. Louis on that power play once they did get it set up. And at 2:25, after the kill's done, Jarvis scores from Aho, and it was on a turnover, and it was fantastic patience by Jarvis. Just absolutely amazing. So that makes it 4-1. Shots are 7-3 for the Blues at 7 minutes. Blues go back to the power play. Strong penalty kill by the Canes, so that one's killed off. Pretty sure there weren't 4 shots for the Blues on that one. Canes press with 8.5 minutes left. The goalie would get pulled with 3:40 left. Bortuzzo and Svechnikov were unfriendly at center ice. Love to know what was said there. But at the end of this, Carolina wins 4-1. They go to 38-10-8 with the win. If not for how great a season Boston's having, all we'd be talking about is how amazing Carolina looks. St. Louis, the 26-28-3 with the loss. The 3 stars in this one, Svechnikov, Anderson, and Jarvis. Shots in this one, 12-11 Carolina in the first, 18-9 Carolina in the second, 16-6 St. Louis in the third. Final shots, both teams had 36. Power plays, St. Louis 0 for 3, Carolina, there weren't any. There were no power plays for Carolina in this game. Hits 27-10 St. Louis. Binnington saves 32 out of 36. Anderson saves 35 out of 36. So Freddie Anderson, one of the big difference makers tonight. Again, not that Binnington played badly, but just Carolina, they're a wagon right now. All right, next up, last one on this board is Toronto and Buffalo. This one wasn't a game, and then suddenly it was. Toronto kind of lets them back into it. So Samsonov versus Luukkonen, early press by the Sabres. They don't get shots out of it, though. And then Toronto scores. It's O'Reilly at 3:51 from Marner and Tavares. And they loved that combination so much they'd use it again. So that was buried on a turnover during a line change. So sloppy line change by Buffalo, and they make them pay. And then at 4:28, so seconds later, they score again. And it's O'Reilly from Marner and Tavares, and he roofs that one. So Ryan O'Reilly with 2 goals in the first 4:28 of the game against his former team. And with the amount of Toronto fans that were in attendance, didn't matter, felt like a Leafs home game anyways. Camp nearly adds another. The shots are 3-0 Leafs at 5.5 minutes, meaning that both of their first 2 shots went in the net. Too many rush chances for the Leafs, and then Tavares would score from Marner at 7:14. That was the 6th shot of the game. Buffalo still has none. So while people can point and go, well, Luukkonen allows so many goals on so few shots, yeah, Buffalo had nothing. They weren't bailing him out at all. These are really strong chances for Toronto. The defense for Buffalo tonight just was not there. Leafs press for another. The first Sabres shot takes place at the half, and so Bunting punishes them at 12:09 for that. From Riley and Nylander, he wires that one on a fast break. So suddenly it's 4-0. That's the end of the night for Luukkonen. Craig Anderson goes into the net. And then things get kind of punchy on a hole by Samsonov because obviously Buffalo kind of ticked off with how this game's going. It's 4-0 after 1. Second period, shots are 3-0 Sabres at 3 minutes as they're fighting their way back into this. Tuck has a turnover chance deflect out. The Leafs press at 5.5 minutes. Dahlin has a shot that's caught and held. Sabres press at 9.5 minutes. The Leafs only had one shot at the half. So it's like a reverse of the first period, the difference being Buffalo not getting 4 goals here. Sabres press with 8.5 minutes left, but the Leafs go to the power play, and Nylander scores on what was a good cycle, and he bats it in out of the air. That takes place at 14:36. It's 5-0 Toronto. So we go to the third period, power play for the Sabres. That's killed off, but at 5:12, Jack Quinn gets them on the board from Middlestad. Wires that one on a rush. Be careful, watch those rush chances. The shots are 5-0 Buffalo, 7 minutes in, and at 8:01, it's Tuck from Thompson. So all of a sudden it's 5-2, but then the Leafs get a power play. If you get a goal here, you can tamp this all down. And then Jost headlocks Bunting during that. Bunting kind of fights off, and both of them go to the box. I will agree at this point, you can tell. As soon as something happens with Bunting, the referees are like, nope. Nope. Nuh-uh. Nope. I don't know how to fix this for him other than he can't look at the refs, which he didn't on this one that I noticed. So maybe he stopped looking at the refs looking for calls. Eventually, he'll start getting at least a couple again, I would think. So O'Reilly's denied the hat trick, and then the puck goes the other way, and Skinner makes this really interesting. He scores from Dahlin and Tuck at 16:29, wires that one on a rush. So then Buffalo pulls the goalie, because now they're only down by 2. Thompson's denied on a net drive as Toronto keeps giving up these really good opportunities. Again, it seems like these teams just switched roles, but before this can get more interesting, O'Reilly does get the hat trick goal from Marner at 19:50 into the empty net, and the hats rain down in Buffalo for former Sabre scoring, who's now with the Leafs. It's bizarro world, but Toronto wins this one 6-3. They go to 35-15-8. Buffalo drops to 28-23-4. This is what I was talking about with Buffalo. They have to start winning at home. As long as they're this mediocre at home, they're not going into the playoffs. It's 3 stars in this one: O'Reilly, Marner, and Tavares. The shots on net, 15-8 Toronto in the first. I'm rooting for Buffalo. I want to see them turn this around. 11-8 Buffalo in the second, 13-6 Buffalo in the third. They actually outshoot Toronto 32-29 overall. Power plays, Toronto 1 for 2, Buffalo 0 for 1. The hits 17-16 for Buffalo. Buffalo hit tonight. I think that's the highest I've seen it all year for Buffalo's hitting. Samsonov saves 29 out of 32. Luukkonen saved 6 out of 10. And then Anderson saved 17 out of 18. So Luukkonen's had a couple of ugly games. Maybe Anderson needs to play at home and Luukkonen plays on the road. I don't know. They got to figure this out, because if Buffalo is going to overcome that deficit between themselves and the playoffs using the games in hand they have to win those games at home. At any rate, I do need to change boards. All right, next up, we've got the LA Kings and the Minnesota Wild. This was, it turned into not the most exciting game of the night. I'm going to say that. Clearly, Dean Evison has the style he feels this team needs to play, and it works today. So for anybody who's upset about Kalen Addison continually being a healthy scratch, this result tonight tells me Addison might be a healthy scratch for the next game as well. So it's Copley versus Gustafsson. Early jump for the Wild, but the shots on net are 2 apiece at 2.5 minutes. Byfield has a net drive that's defended. Lizotte had a chance that was saved. The rebound's cleared out by Minnesota. Gustafsson sharp in this game. I really have been so impressed with Gustafsson since the start of the year. Power play for the Wild score, but it's challenged for offside, and it's offside. And it's too bad, because that would have been Beckman's first NHL goal. So the Wild finished the kill the Kings finished the kill after a post for the Wild. The post meaning the Wild almost got the lead again. Then there's a power play for the Kings that turns into 46 seconds of 4-on-4. Everything's killed off there. Moore hits the outside of the net as the Kings press. Big saves by Gustafsson to close this out. He keeps it scoreless. We're going to the second period. It takes 13 seconds for Minnesota to get the lead. It's Hartman from Kaprizov and Middleton. The Wild then look to add another. Dursey, though, has a shot that's saved. The Wild cleared out. Fiala can't bury one. Lizotte tips it wide. The shots on net are 7-1 LA at 7 minutes. So to this point, Minnesota's had one shot and they scored on it. That's efficiency for you. Beckman fires one wide as the Wild press. There's a power play for Minnesota. That's killed off. Kempe fires one high from the slot. Kopitar's a net drive that's held. And that leads to some pushing. So we're going to the third period with Minnesota ahead 1-0. The Wild had the only shot on net 3 minutes into the third period as the Wild go into that shell. Moore has a net feed near miss there. And every play, it's all green sweaters back. Every play, all green. And again, this is why Addison's not in the lineup. He plays the more offensive, more loosey-goosey kind of style. Shots are 2-0 for the Wild at 6 minutes. Anderson fires one high. The Wild clear it out. Boldy spinning backhand was held. That Boldy spinning backhand, if that had gone in, that would have been highlight reel everywhere. But it's saved and held. Hartman's denied on a 3-on-2. The Kings press with 9.5 minutes left. They're kept to the outside. Roy fires one high. Kopitar was then denied. Kings are line juggling at this point, looking for anything that's going to work. Pressed by the Kings with 5.5 minutes left. But then Hartman wires one over the glove at 15-12, and that makes it 2-0 for Minnesota. Really important goal because LA was definitely putting some pressure on before that. Doughty's then denied on a rush chance. Kempe was denied in the final minute during a 6-on-5. Post for Duhaime on the empty net, so he couldn't hit the empty net with 27.1 seconds left. The Wild iced the puck. The Kings call a timeout then, and they would score. At 19:39, Kopitar breaks the shutout from Dursey and Kempe, while the Minnesota announcers are saying, yeah, there's no such thing as a jinx. They had mentioned the shutout before that took place, so I didn't do it. I never said it. Fiala then has a stick break when the LA Kings get the puck, and as soon as Fiala stick breaks, it just threw off the Kings. They weren't getting out of their zone. They weren't coordinated. And Minnesota wins this one 2-1. They go to 31-21-5 with the win. LA 32-19-7 to start this road trip. This is not a great start. We'll see how they bounce back in the next game. 3 stars are Hartman, Gustafson, and Spurgeon. Shots in this one 10 apiece in the first, 14-4 Minnesota in the second, 10-6 Minnesota in the third. Final shots 34-20 for Minnesota. Power plays Minnesota 0 for 1, LA 0 for 3. The hits 18-15 LA. Copley saves 18 out of 20, and there's Gustafson, his third straight start, and really solid numbers. 33 saves on 34 shots. Keep playing Gustafson. I cannot stress this enough. Gustafson gives Minnesota a chance to win every night. That's what he does. It's made a big difference. All right, next up, Vancouver and Nashville. Dag nabbit, you just had to get a point, didn't you, Vancouver? So it's Delia versus Saros, and this one the shots are 2-1 for the Canucks at 3.5 minutes. The Preds have a 4-on-2 that misfires. Preds score. There's an offside challenge, but it counts. So Cole Smith with that one from Sissons and Lauzon at 4:38. That power play is killed off by Vancouver, but after the shots are 6-2 Nashville when that comes to an end. Then there's a press by Nashville for another. The Canucks get a power play. Hughes has a shot that's blocked. They cycle. That power play is killed off. Amon nearly steals one from Saros behind the net. So close. Yossi's denied on a turnover opportunity. The Canucks go back to the power play. Besser's denied late in that. It's killed off. 3 shots for Vancouver on that power play. Duchesne then had a net feed that wouldn't go. Lauzon had a shot that hits Johansson in the back. That didn't look great. Johansson had a rough night. During the second period, he would get what appears to be a skate cut. It was accidental, obviously. I think it was Quinn Hughes that cut him, but hopefully he's okay. It's one of those things where you know he's going to need stitches. You just don't know if there's any other damage beyond that. At least I haven't seen anything yet. Remember, once the games are done, I immediately turn on the camera. I do these recordings for you fine people, and then I check out the injuries afterwards. Miller's denied in the final minute. It's 1-0 Nashville after 1. Second period, we had a press by Nashville at 1.5 minutes. Then we get a power play for the Preds, and they score on it. And the sad part about this is Vancouver's penalty kill was pretty good until it wasn't. Tomasino gets the goal from Parson and at 7:57. Canucks press with 9.5 minutes left. Shots are 4-3 for Vancouver with 8.5 minutes left. And then Kuzmenko. I think this guy's got a future. He scores from Bear and Hughes at 12:47. Every time I see him score, I feel like saying, hey, remember when fans were all upset that he got his ice time cut? I don't think it really has fazed him at all. So the Canucks press with 6 minutes left, looking for the tie. Canucks get a power play with 2:08 left. Dries ties it. They reviewed it because the net came off. Net came off after, no big deal. It does count. Dries from Besser and Garland on the power play at 19:38. But in a very Vancouver fashion, they allow a goal before the period's out. 10 seconds left. Niederreiter scores from Novak and Josi. That makes it Yossi makes it 3-2 Nashville after 2. Third period. And Johansson still not in the lineup and did not return. Preds get a power play. Glass fires one high. Sissons can't bury one. That power play's killed off. 3 shots. Stillman flattens Tomasino, and then Granlund. Granlund makes it 4-2 from Glass and Parson, and at 7:44. Canucks press then at 9 minutes. There's a press by Nashville with 8.5 minutes left. Kuzmenko's denied in close. 4:38 left. The Canucks get a power play. That's killed off, but With the goalie pulled, Garland scores from Hughes and Pettersson at 18:54. And then, with the goalie pulled, they score again. It's Kuzmenko from Miller and Beauvillier at 19:44. So the Canucks come back and tie this, which I didn't see coming. And then we go to overtime. Canucks control early. Besser has a shot deflect out. Glass wins a puck battle. Preds set up, but they lose the puck. Miller has a chance. That's saved. Granlund then fires one wide, and there was a crossbar for JT Miller. So we go to a shootout. In the shootout, the only one that scores is Matt Duchene, so he gets the winner. Nashville survives a bit of a scare here. They win 5-4 in a shootout. They go to 27, 22, and 6. For Vancouver, 22, 30, and 5. Just had to get a point. 3 stars in this one are all Nashville, and I'm not sure I understand why, because Vancouver outshot them by large amounts, and Kuzmenko should have had a star. Niederreiter, Parsonen, and Tomasino are the 3 stars in this one. Shots 13-8 Vancouver in the first, 10-7 Vancouver in the second, 14-9 Vancouver in the third. 2 shots by both teams in the overtime. Final shots 39-26 Vancouver. Power plays both teams 1 for 4. Hits 28-25 for Vancouver. Delia 22 saves on 26 shots. Saros 35 saves on 39 shots. So, yeah, you just have to ask yourself if the Vancouver Canucks had more saves in this. You never know. But at any rate, that's something we've seen most of the season. All right, next up, Vegas and Chicago. Speaking of surprises, so questions of the Pacific Division and how strong the Pacific Division are, these kinds of results tonight aren't going to change that conversation. It's Brossoit versus Mrazek. And Brossoit had a really good game. Not that the team gave him the goal support he needs. So, good back and forth early. Whitecloud has a shot that's blocked. And then at 3:27, their first shot on net goes in. It's Kolesar from Roy. So, it looks like this could end up being, one of those games, right? Mrazek allows a goal on the first shot. It was a nice setup, too, by Raw to get that goal for Kolesar. Shots are 2-0 Vegas at 4.5 minutes. Smith has a chance that's held as Vegas presses. Hawks press at 7 minutes. Both fourth lines really prominent in this game early on. Smith then had a rush chance that's saved. And then at 12:39, Gutman gets his second goal in many games, isn't it? He had a goal in the last game, too, didn't he? Tyler Johnson and Radish with the assists. We then had a power play for the Hawks. That's killed off. But surprisingly, it's 1-1 after 1. And Chicago was right there with Vegas. They were right there with them in terms of play. The shots were even. I thought the chances were pretty even. So second period, shots are 5-3 for the Hawks at 3.5 minutes. Kolesar almost versus Domi. I do not understand linesmen jumping in before the punches start. I don't. I think it's dangerous for linesmen to jump in before the punches start. I also, Domi gets a 10-minute misconduct in this. He's the only one that went to the box. Kolesar didn't actually throw a punch. But yeah, it's one of those things where Domi gets the extra 10 minutes because the linesman jumped in and he got the unsportsmanlike. I think it was for kind of ragdolling the linesman a little bit. It wasn't awful. But at any rate, these things happen. So Vegas comes out with a power play. The Hawks killed that off pretty easily, and then they get a turn on the power play. Seth Jones has a blast that's saved, but that power play's killed off as well. And then Eichel, on a 3-on-1, he wires it. Theodore with the assist at 11:32. So that makes the score 2-1 for Vegas. Martinez then had a net feed that was blocked. Vegas was some momentum at this stage. Hawks press with 6.5 minutes left, but they're kept to the outside. Raw's denied and close. The rebound deflects out. There's a press by Vegas with 1.5 left. It's 2-1 in their favor after 2 periods. Third period, Kane goes beast mode, was denied during that. Cotter has a rush chance that's held. Smith had a net feed that's picked off. Gutman has a rush chance that's held. The shots are 4-1 Chicago at 6 minutes. So Chicago's coming out ready to win this. Dickinson has a rush shot that's kicked aside. There's a turnover chance for Theodore that deflects wide. Raw to Theodore, that's picked off by Chicago before it gets to the net. Hawks press with 7 minutes left. McCabe fires one wide on a net drive. Lafferty had a shot that was caught and held. There's a crossbar for Riley Smith. He thought he'd scored. Nope, crossbar. Can't help you. Caleb Jones then has a shot that's sticked aside as the Hawks press. Goalie pull happens with 2:15 left. With 1:55 left, a delay of game call, and it's Pietrangelo to the box. So one of the penalty killers in the box. That's always painful. Kane has a chance that's held, and then at 19:05, Tyler Johnson on a face-off win gets the goal from Kane and Domi. So we're going to overtime between Chicago and Vegas. In the overtime, Domi's denied. Theodore rushes on a turnover. Then the next Domi chance after they get the puck back is saved or deflects out. Kane then has a chance that's saved. Vegas takes over. They hand the puck back. Seth Jones is denied twice. Kane scores, but time had just expired. I thought they spent a lot of time looking at this. I don't know if they couldn't find a clock that really showed them whether or not it had run out, but it looked like maybe they had, or they were just trying to be absolutely certain. It's too bad because, really, if Kane had scored with a tenth of a second left, right? So we go to a shootout. Tyler Johnson gets the winner. We get the same score anyways. It's a 3-2 shootout victory for Chicago. They go to 19-32-5 with the win. Vegas 34-18-5. You can't be losing points against Chicago. So the 3 stars in this one, and they're all Chicago Blackhawks. And it feels the same as Nashville. I think at least one of the Vegas players should have been a star. But anyways, and I'm thinking Brossoit, Tyler Johnson, Gutman, and Mrazek are your 3 stars in this one. Shots on net, 9 apiece in the first, 20-12 Vegas in the second, 13-5 in favor of Chicago in the third. 5-2 Chicago in the overtime. Final shots 39-36 for the Blackhawks. Power plays, Vegas 0 for 1, Chicago 1 for 3. Hits 23-18 Chicago. Brossoit saves 37 out of 39. Mrazek saves 34 out of 36. So Mrazek, nice bounce back game for him. And for Brossoit, solid in a return to the NHL. Well, I mean, we knew he was a good goaltender. It was just the numbers game got to him. All right. Last game of the night we're going to talk about is Philly and the Oilers. I thought the Oilers were losing this game. Full disclosure, after 40 minutes, I thought, wow, this is a bad game for the Oilers. Because Philadelphia played really well. They had a plan. I get the feeling Philadelphia might have just run out of gas in the third period because they played last night. And this is, 3 games in 4 nights? Because Saturday, 3 games in 4 nights. Hart versus Skinner in this one. The shots are 2-0 for the Oilers 3 minutes into it. First Flyers shot takes up until the 7.5 minute mark. So that tells you the Flyers got off to a slow start. Power play for the Flyers. They cycle. Skinner saves. It's cleared out. Killed off 2 shots. And then Noah Cates scores to put the Flyers ahead. He scores from Allison and Delorier at 10:01. He scores that one on a wraparound. So all of a sudden, Philadelphia is ahead 1-0 in Edmonton. Oilers press for a response, but really strong board play by the Flyers that I felt I had to put on the board. Really strong back checking. Really good board play. Chicago and Philadelphia have a really similar thing going where they can play really well, and you can feel like, the coaches have really good systems in place. They just don't have the team on the ice that can win these games for them regularly enough. So, Oilers, they get a power play with 6 seconds left, and they score because they're ridiculous. Barrie scores at 19:57 from Draisaitl. That was the 50th assist of the season for Draisaitl. I think it's 4th season in a row he's had 50 assists. But it makes it 1-1 after 1. Second period. Oilers press at 2.5 minutes, but 5 minutes in, the shots are 5-1 for the Flyers. So really, the Oilers having problems getting shots on net. The Flyers are blocking. They're doing everything they can to win this. 7 shots for the Oilers in the first 28 minutes of this game. No room for them out there. And then Tippett scores from Hayes and Lycksell at 11:37. For Lycksell, that's his first NHL point. So it's 2-1 for the Flyers, and the Oilers are turning it over. There's no easy pucks for the Oilers at this point. They're turning the puck over. The Flyers are kind of controlling things. There's a power play for Edmonton. No stick for Lawton, so it became a 5-on-3.5. McDavid has a shot that's held, and then there's some pushing, and that McDavid shot would be the only shot of that power play. Then the Flyers press with 2:27 left. They would draw themselves a power play. The Oilers did kill that off. So after 2 periods, it's 2-1 for the Flyers, and the Oilers have 10 combined shots between the 2 periods. And then in the third period, they broke through. So early press by the Oilers. D'Angelo and Fogle were unfriendly at center ice. Every time I see that, I think, I just want to hear what's being said. Please, just for a moment. Just let us hear what's... I swear I won't tell anybody if you swear. So, the Oilers press at 4 minutes. Frost has a rush chance that's held. The shots are 3-2 for the Oilers, 5.5 minutes in. We get a 4-minute power play for the Oilers. Of course, they're going to score on it. During the first half, Draisaitl gets the power play goal at 6:49 from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and McDavid. This is remarkable. It's the 700th point in the career of Draisaitl. It is the 800th point in the career of McDavid on the same goal. And I look at that and I think, has that ever happened before? Probably we've seen 2 guys hit a milestone together, but that feels like something special. So that one went through Hart, and it was just too many chances for the Oilers. They just kept giving them chance after chance after chance. Bouchard then has a shot deflect out. The last 2 minutes of that power play are killed off. Tippett's robbed on a rebound. The Oilers press with 9 minutes left. Fogle then has a net drive that's saved. And then, the McDavid, never mind. So McDavid scores from Draisaitl at 12:39. Then Bouchard whiffs on a 3-on-1, so it's 3-2 for the Oilers. Kulak's denied on a rush. Goalie pull happens with 2:55 left, and then it becomes a 6-on-4 due to a delay of game. We see this a lot where the delay of game makes it a 6-on-4. Well, that means a shorthanded empty netter, and it's McDavid who gets that one from Nurse at 17:35. They would pull the goaltender again because it's Tortorella. You do not quit. You do not stop trying to win the game. But your final score is 4-2 for the Oilers. They go to 31-19-8 with the win. For Philadelphia, 23-26-10 with the loss. So this is how interesting things are in the Pacific. All of a sudden, there's going to be people saying the Kings, they're in trouble. The Oilers got to win. They'll be fine. They've got points in 11 of their last 12 games, so they'll be fine. So the bizarreness of the NHL right now. So the 3 stars in this one are Draisaitl, McDavid, and Tippett. Shots, 9-5 Philadelphia in the first, 7-5 Philadelphia in the second, and then they just ran out of gas. 17-9 Edmonton in the third. Final shots, 27-25 for the Oilers. I think it's a combination of the Oilers playing their game and Philadelphia being exhausted. I think both those things happen in the third. Power plays, Edmonton, 2 for 4. Philadelphia, 0 for 3. Hits, 28-20 for the Oilers. Hart saved 23 out of 26. Skinner saved 22 out of 24, and he played well enough for them to win. That's all you can ask for from your goalie. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.